Daily Vlog, day 28. I'm going to be serious for a moment. There's a news story that hasn't gotten a lot of play in the United States. However, if you've been following any of the international news agencies like BBC or Al Jazeera, you'll see that there are a lot of protests going on in the Ukraine, particularly in the city of Kiev. People have been protesting because President Yanukovych has signed a trade agreement with Russia, their old masters, not with the European Union, which was on the table, which would have opened up trade to all of Europe and given the Ukraine a little bit of a brighter financial future. It started out innocently enough, as most protests do. However, this one quickly escalated. The police were called in, the riot squads were called in, and a lot of violence has happened in the couple of weeks since these protests started. Peace talks between the protesters' leaders and President Yanukovych and his regime have largely fallen apart. Why am I bringing this up? Because of this article. It's a story about how several Greek Orthodox priests are defying the authorities and gathering peacefully amidst the protests to pray. And they're doing so despite the fact that about a month ago, the authorities banned public prayer during these protests. So they've been showing up in droves, in their robes, robe droves, with their crosses and their Bibles, and have been standing there in the midst of the firing line to pray to God for peace. This got me thinking, how far would I go to live out my convictions and express my faith? These are some powerful images, and I think they should challenge each and every one of us, regardless of what our beliefs may be, to consider how strong our convictions really are about what we say we have faith in. If persecution is the anvil on which our convictions are forged, then I wonder, how readily would I stand up in the face of the guys with the guns to live out my faith, to pray for them? I think of the martyrs back from the first century of the church, where they faced tremendous opposition and had every reason to renounce their faith except for the one reason that truly mattered. They believed it was utterly true. And I know every cause has its martyrs. Every cause has its true believers. And I guess that's got me just reflecting on how much of a true believer am I? And will my true beliefs hold under the weight of persecution? Because let's face it, in America, we have it easy. Regardless of what the TV networks tell you, whether there's a war on this or on that, we're really not facing persecution, not nearly to the extent we could say is real persecution based on what other people are going through around the world and what Christians have gone through in the history of the church. No one's being arrested for their faith. No one's being dragged out in the street and beaten to death. I've often wondered what the face of the church would look like in the United States if we were faced with the kind of persecution that churches in other parts of the world endure. Now, I'm not saying this to condemn American Christians, because I don't think that's a good thing to do, because we could never really know the full extent of our faithfulness until it's tested, which is why I said persecution is the anvil on which our convictions are forged. We might like to assume that the people who go to church every week might not have the faith to withstand under pressure, but I don't think that's true. Under persecution, certainly many would fall away, but I think others would rise to the occasion. Because I think there are a lot of quiet giants of the faith out there whose faithfulness we haven't even begun to see. My hope is that I'm one of them, and that you are too. So what are some of your convictions that you feel really strongly about? Strong enough even to face persecution or violence or worse? Let me know in the comments below. I have a feeling this might be a very interesting conversation. This has been Daily Vlog number 28. 337 to go. I'll talk to you tomorrow.